Welcome, dogs. Get your goggles, get your tightest lycra tri-suit, put on those compression socks. Why be good at one sport if you can be shit at three? This is the Triathlon Mockery podcast. Good morning, my dogs. You might be wondering why good morning, because it's flipping 8 a.m. and I'm recording a podcast, and some people might be going out for a run. But as you know, I've got that sensitive tummy, so I'd rather work a little bit in the morning and then I'll start working out as of 10. But Maxi, how you doing?
Yo, what's up, dogs? We're back. Yes, I'm good. Good to see you near my stomping ground in Girona, mate. I recognized the street you were on yesterday, the basic bitch alley to Fabrica, and I was like, DM'd you, like, I see where you are, brother.
Yeah, it's I went into La Fabrica because I wanted a decent cafe. So first this weekend I was in Paris for a 10K, and then drove down to Girona because you're almost halfway, aren't you? So I thought I'm going to train here for 1 week because in the Netherlands it was getting pretty cold again. So I thought I can do with some decent hours on the bike, and I need to make some content / marketing for the Ghana Field, baby. So,
nice. Good place to do it. You can hire one of the 10 million influencers that live in Girona.
Exactly. But the downside was when I got into La Fabrica, it was closed at like 4:30 or 4.
Really?
Yeah.
That's strange. I guess Fabrica stays open a bit, closes a bit earlier because Mafia is open until like 10 p.m. or something.
I was surprised that the whole town is like a bit of a ghost town at the moment. Or is it only on Mondays?
I think that's just Spain, mate. I don't know if anyone works. Like, they just spend their time sleeping, don't they? So if they're the cyclists,
it's a flipping ghost town. All the restaurants are closed. Everything is closed.
Damn, that's weird. Maybe there's a holiday or something.
But you're staying in Banyoles normally, right?
Yeah. I live in Banyoles, which is like 20 minutes north. You got the lake, the mountains, the running. Just out of the big smoke, mate. I like to be among the locals.
But yeah, but there's no decent cafe there.
There is. You got two decent cafes in Banyoles now, mate. You got aquarium. Yep, aquarium on the lake, which is like the spot to go to. You can look out on the Pyrenees, and then there's a new place, actually like a bakery that you should ride to, called La Menuda, which is near the Parc de la Draga, and it's actually obviously a really, really good bakery. But they've got a rocket espresso machine in there, and their Marconi grinder, and like proper good coffee. I think they stock coffee from Barcelona, and it's legit. So we're rising, baby.
The last time when we were staying there, we were always drinking burnt milk with something like coffee extract along the waterside where the pool is.
Yeah, I think, when was that? That must have been like 2019, 2021 or something.
Yeah, 2022.
Mate, things have changed. It's getting gentrified. People like me are starting to show up, that's the problem.
I'm going to Banyoles today because the Tour de Catalunya is starting from Banyoles.
Yeah. It's starting just around the corner from my place, actually. But that's the problem. It's like Amsterdam or any of these places, when you start to see white guys with Birkenstocks and tote bags and beanies, you're in trouble. So I think...
What, is that in Banyoles?
Mate, more and more.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these fashion things start in London and in Amsterdam, don't they? And then they go down to Banyoles pretty quick.
All of a sudden, you've got farmers walking around in the Jesus Ones Birkenstocks.
Yeah. I was wondering, you've got that Haribo store is also in Banyoles.
Yeah, the factory, and they've got a shop.
Yep.
If you pull into the shop, you get the discount jumbo Haribos. So... yeah. If you're bonked 5K from home, mate, you just pull in and smack some Starmix.
Last time I was there for a month, and no one wanted to join me for a little Haribo factory tour, because you can also do a tour, right?
Yeah, you can do the tour. I've never actually done the tour, but I heard it's pretty cool.
I would want to do that Haribo tour because I flippin' love Haribo.
I love Haribo for sure.
What are your highs and lows, mate?
Highs and lows. I've actually got a high that I spoke to you about a bit. It's not your traditional high, but I'm bringing back the retro sense of Triathlon Mockery, mate. I got locked into not a sauna battle, but a jacuzzi battle with a CrossFit bro. And this was intense. So how
can a jacuzzi battle be intense?
Oh, well, because I was already 5 minutes into my jacuzzi session. So
because the skin got wrinkled after 48 hours.
So as many of you know, I'm heat prepping for Singapore, which, I mean, the conditions here help a lot in terms of the weather and stuff, but I wanted to add that extra layer. So at the pool, there's a jacuzzi right on poolside. So what I've been doing is I've been doing my swim sessions, finishing my swim sessions, and straight away, bang, straight in the jacuzzi while my core temperature is already high. And then I'm doing 10 to 20 minutes as long as I can go in the jacuzzi, and I'm just sweating my balls off, mate.
But with all respect, but a jacuzzi has never been hard for me. As in, I can literally pop in the jacuzzi for 2 hours.
Huh? This one's hot, man. This one's like 55 degrees or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if you honestly, the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh, chill. You know, you feel like this is easy. I'm at the beach. I'm relaxing. But once you go over the 6 minute mark, that's when you start sweating bullets, and you know you're in trouble. You know. So anyway, I was in the jacuzzi, right? 5 minutes in, and I see this guy coming from across the pool. Under Armour kit on, you know, like jacked, tattoos, big, tall, bald guy. And I was like, oof, what does he want? You know? And he comes up to me and he says, because I didn't have the bubbles on, because when you put the bubbles on, like it gets warmer, because obviously it injects more hot water and steam and everything. So I'm kind of just taking the beginner version of just sitting in the still water, you know? And this guy comes up to me and he's like, bro, do you mind if I turn the bubbles on? And I said to him,
together.
I said to him, yeah, bro, no worries. You go turn those bubbles on. So he goes, he turns the bubbles on. And I knew as soon as he stepped in, we were locked into the battle. So I'm sitting there. I'm on minute 7. I'm absolutely starting to sweat my tits off. You know, I'm drinking a bit of water, but I'm saying, you know, like, I'm gonna win this, you know. And he knew what was going on. He knew what was going on, because he came in and he said, hey, can I turn the bubbles on? And that was, for me, that's when the war started. So he starts sitting there, he's chilling, he's relaxing, he's moving around. And then I get 5 minutes in and I can see the forehead sweat start to accumulate on his bald head. And I was like, oh, here we go. Now the big man's going to come out. I'm bearing in mind, I'm on like minute 12. So I'm starting to really, really suffer, you know?
Do you record your heart rate when you're in the bubble?
Yeah, I got the Whoop on and I'm looking at the live heart rate and I'm like, 160 BPM just sitting in there, like 100, 150, 160. Because like I've just done a swim session, so I'm already like spiked up, you know?
And dehydrated a bit?
Dehydrated, I'm sucked out, and I'm just like sitting there like suffering like a pig. And this guy's starting to sweat bullets, and I'm like, oh, I've got him on the ropes, you know? I've got him on the ropes. I think I can. So I start mad dogging him, start making eye contact, you know, like no homo, but just like kind of like telling him, you know, like I know what's going on here, you know? He knows what's going on.
Could you say something like, are there any more bubbles? Or like to...
No, I wanted to keep it a silent battle, mate. Telepathic.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, on minute 7, he gets out, boom, jumps in the pool, and there you go. I'd won. So that was my high of the week. First ever sauna battle won. I'm taking that as a small mental victory into Singapore.
That is a decent battle. It's been a while since I've been in a sauna battle or in a like a hot tub battle. For me, I mean the bubbles I always go to, they're like max 37 degrees maximum.
Oh, this is way warmer, man. I'm like genuinely like really hard. And then once the bubbles start going, you get steam that comes up as well. So you got the humidity that kicks in.
Because normally the bubbles make it cooler because they're like cool air from the outside.
No, this is hot bubbles. So
it's a hot bubble.
It's a hot jacuzzi bubble.
Hey everyone, I wanted to clear the air a little bit about the podcast Triathlon Mockery, as I've seen some speculations online. A few weeks ago, Joe decided to go his own way, to start his own podcast and community, also because he wants to set something up for after his career. Joe and I have not been falling out. We're still good mates, and there's nothing in between us. So I want to wish him all the best of luck with his new path. And you can all find it. It's called The Junkyard Dogs, the JYD. In the meanwhile, I'm just going to crack on with Triathlon Mockery with Max Stapley as the new co-host, and maybe Joe will hop on in the future. So now and then. Is it sad? Do I find it sad? Yes, of course. You know, it's always sad when something like that, after such a long time, comes to an end. But in the end, we all got to make certain choices. And maybe this is where the saying comes from: all good things come to an end. And up until for a very long time, I never understood what it actually meant. But in the end, I want to wish Joe the best of luck, and maybe we'll see him back in future shows. But for now, I'm going to crack on with Max Stapley. So let's get on with the show. All right, my high of the week is I just ran a 10K PB, baby, in Paris, and so I was there for a running brand. So I drove down on Saturday morning, and I was there on Saturday. First, I did a bit more than a 20K long run through all the highlights because I've never been in Paris, so that was my first time in Paris.
You've never been to Paris?
I've never. Yeah, well, I've been now, but before I've never been to Paris. Yeah,
it's a great place.
Yeah, it was really nice. So I've seen all the touristic bits, and then the next day, I was like, so this event was called like a fun run, and it means like instead of like a normal running race where you need to rock up like 8 a.m., you've got like massive queue lines in front of the toilets, etc. This one was starting at like 10, and breakfast was included, so you could get like breakfast at the event. And but I was speaking to the guy prior to the event. He's like this friend. He said, no worry, we got started. And because there were like 8,000 or 9,000 people competing, and this thing was like the whole bit where you would get your registration bib and where the breakfast etc. was. That was smaller than your local triathlon. It was like 8,000 people competing, and I couldn't even see a toilet. So I was like, hey, man, about tomorrow. He said, no worry. We got it sorted. So I was like, all right, righty. So next day in the morning, I thought like, all right, we need to get some content, and I need to get there quick because it's going to probably be absolute carnage. But in the end, it was actually all right. I did have brekkie at a small little cafe because in some form it was carnage when you have 8,000 people going for brekkie. Start of the race, started pretty on the front, and it's always like these elbowing people, right? Hey, what are you gonna run? Because I want to stand over there.
I feel like it's especially bad in France. There's definitely a start line pushing culture. Anyone that's done a French cross country or a race knows that the French get the elbows out.
But there was like this lad behind me, and so he was pointing like. So I was literally on the second line, and he was behind, like 2 rows behind me. He was tapping me on my back. Hey, mate, I want to stand over there. And he was pointing like in front of me. And I said, yeah, I want to stand there too. But it's not possible, mate. Like, it's pretty full. And at some point, he got like, oh, cocky. What are you going to run then? What are you going to run? So I said, oh, I don't know, 30 minutes on a bad day. So I thought. But anyway.
Didn't you turn around and say, do you know who I am, man? You know who you're talking to? You're talking to the mozzarella.
You're on camera now.
You're on camera.
You're on camera. Don't be silly. No, but then they started off, and oh my God, I thought I signed up for the 5K because the first K I came through in 3:12, and I was literally maybe already 70 people back. So some of them, like I would say the load of them spanked it out at 3-minute K pace. But I slowly, gradually picked everyone up. And I came in average 3:22 per kilometer. New PB, baby. And I came in 16th out of 7,600 people. Isn't that decent?
That's pretty good, yeah. And you were saying as well, we were chatting, that the winner was only like a 31:30, so it must have been a pretty slow course.
Yeah, it was slow. And the winner just came in 3rd at the French Nationals or something like that. And the guy who came in 2nd is like a really fast short distance runner. I don't know, but I spoke to that guy, the fast one, because before they had like a 361 degrees ambassador meetup, and that Paul was sending to me, you win the race. I said, oh mate, no. And then that guy was like, what do you run? And I said, I'm hoping to run like something like 34 minutes. I said, and you? And he said 29. And instead of 29, he ran a 31:30. That is a bit of a difference.
Yeah, that is a bit of a difference. It makes you wonder if the course was a bit long or something. Did you wear your watch?
It did. It was 150 meters long. But then still, there was like you're going through all these tunnels. So along the Seine, all these tunnels all the way on to the Eiffel Tower and then back. So I don't know, but it was like constantly up and down, up and down. But anyway, I am super duper stoked with my running form, especially because I've only been doing base since the High Rocks training. And that shows you that base is still the biggest factor for a high high speed. Of course, in the end, you also need to do interval sessions, but that's now the next stage for the London Marathon. So yeah, it's a bit of a confidence booster.
Nice.
But have you got a low of the week?
A low? Well, I don't. I've actually had a really good week. I don't really have many lows. The low is here that the wind in the Middle East, man. Fuck, like it. You know, not only is it hot, but it's windy every day. You know, so I'm having to like time my runs with the wind and just like change my locations based on where it's going to come from. But I'm every time I'm suffering in the wind, I just tell myself, it'll make you tougher, bro. It'll make you tougher. Just that channeling that Goggins mindset 24/7, you know?
But it's hard, man, to do all those sessions solo. Like, ooh, I would crack.
Yeah. I've actually had quite a bit of help from my parents on the bike. And you realize that having someone on the bike with
you for 120k TT.
Oh no, man. That's fully solo.
I don't know. I just always need a bit to ramble.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely look forward to riding with other people soon, but I've actually quite enjoyed it. You know, it's just been knowing that what you're doing is exactly what you need to do for you. And just, you know what, also here, just the continuous pedaling, like you realize you've got no traffic lights, no turns, no cars. So when you're riding 4 hours, you're actually riding 4 hours, like on the turbo, you know, whereas I can imagine leaving from the center of Amsterdam, like how many times you have to like stop, slow down, freewheel, you know? So I don't know. I'm just thinking of the gains. I'm thinking, okay, every time I'm suffering, but I don't know if it's a low because it's a high in a way, because I did an absolutely monstrous session on the bike last week. And, you know, I watched,
give us the juice.
I'll give you some stats. So, it was 45 minutes at 310 watts.
All right.
10-minute spin into an hour at 15 minutes, 310, 5 minutes, 360.
Okay.
So,
and 315 is probably your 70.3 power up and around.
Yeah, I'd at the moment I'm weighing about 69 to 70 kg. So I'd aim to probably in a 70.3 anywhere from like 280 to 320 average. Obviously, there's times where you're going to go up to 360, 370, and times where you're going to go down to 220, 230. But yeah, I'd say the 310 is about the target power. But man, honestly, so first of all, like accumulating the fatigue with the 45 minutes, and then straight into an hour continuous with the 5-minute spike. Like 5 minutes is a long time, you know, and especially 360 in the TT position is different to 360 like sitting on the hoods on the road bike, you know. And it's on the flat, so no hill. I honestly I can remember watching Lionel, you know, crying on the turbo and thinking to myself, how is, you know, that to push yourself that far, like that's almost scary, you know, like. And I can honestly say by the last 5 minutes I was crying. I was almost I had tears in my eyes from the pain. And you know,
also because about the emotional beauty of working out.
I think it was the emotional challenge of being out there on my own, and I'm 5 weeks deep, and I'm doing one of the hardest bike sessions I've ever done, and I'm just sitting on
that's what it is, you know. People always a lot of people after a race cry, and they never cry after a 5K, you know. It's because you build up so many of these like hard sessions where you need to push yourself. And I'm not saying push yourself physically, but also mentally pushing yourself and doing something that you actually don't want to do. You know, in the evening on a grim UK day, everyone wants to be sitting on the couch with like nice chips and fish on the couch with me wife watching, I don't know, X on the beach. What do you watch in the UK? I don't even know, but
I don't know. Love Island,
whatever, or Bear Grylls, who's like doing some crazy shit. Everyone would like that, you know. It's nice and comfy under a blanket with a nice little black tea. But in the end, you got to get out after work, doing a grim session in the rain. No one wants to do that, but all these sessions, and then the first week is easy. The second couple of weeks are easy. But then as soon as you're like months in, you know, something is coming closer, but still it's pretty far away. It's hard to feed off that motivation, but you got to keep going. And that's where you build up the inner tears. And they come out, baby. They come out popping after that Ironman.
You just need to let them out. Let it flow. Let it out.
Let it flow, yeah. Same with a lot of men. They crop up their emotions. You know, they always hold the emotions in, and either at some like completely unrealistic moment, the tears will come out. For example, when someone's neighbor is like, "Hey, my cat just died," or something like that. They get like way too emotional because it's actually the emotions from something else that's coming out. Or when they finally have a moment that they open up, they get really emotional, and that's actually a really beautiful thing, Max.
Yeah, I think it's cool to be vulnerable, guys. Let it out.
Yeah, it's okay.
If you want to cry in the street because the cafe's closed at 4:30, just do it. It doesn't matter.
Might be a bit over the top, but if it would happen a couple of times, then at the end of the week it might happen. And then I would cry with Pepe, my mate, and we would say to each other, "But it's all right because we've got each other. It's not the end of the world."
100%.
So what's next? When's the T100?
Right. So T100 is next, not this Sunday, next Sunday, and I leave on Tuesday for Singapore.
Yeah.
And I get there on the 2nd and race on the 6th. So I'm in my final stretch of training. I'll probably keep pushing now until Thursday, I'd say. And then after Thursday, really start winding things down. Obviously, it might be a bit of a longer taper because I've been smashing it for so long. But yeah, that's it. We're nearly there, baby.
Do you... This weekend is also Ironman South Africa, the first Ironman Pro Series race of the first Ironman Pro Series race. Did you have a little look at the list?
Yeah, I mean, it's packed.
Pretty stacked, you know. There's 50 lads on the list and 22 women. And on the women, we've got the big hitter Els Visser from the Netherlands. But we've also got Maya Stilts-Nielsen, Marta Sanchez, Anna Rijksman. There's a load of them. I do think Elsie is, for me, the big favorite.
Yeah, I'd say so for sure. But Marta Sanchez is actually quite consistent. I've seen that she's been out in South Africa for a few months training, but I just really respect Els Visser, the way that she races. And I feel like, I think I heard a stat last year, she was the woman that raced the most or one of the most with an injury in the middle of the year or something.
Crazy, right?
She's just tough, man. She's just built different. Like, you know that story, how she swam to freedom from a shipwreck. You know that, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I had dinner with Els 3 weeks ago. She lives really close to me now. She in Utrecht, like 20-25 minutes.
Yeah. So I respect her grind, and she's always there and just suffers it out, you know. But you never know. Marta Sanchez, maybe if it's hot, she's used to the conditions, could give her a run for her money.
South Africa will never be really, really hot.
No, like, especially on the coast. You'll always have a bit of a coastal breeze.
25 degrees, maybe a higher humidity, but not...
Yeah, and I mean, especially like the roads there are notoriously kind of rough, a bit chip seal, you know, like... So I think Elsa's style of racing, just raw power on the bike, is really going to help her shine through and get the W. To be honest, I can't see really anyone else. I mean, there's Ruth Aftel as well, but I don't know. Els Visser is just classy.
See, the bike course there can be so tough when it's so windy.
Yeah. But then in the men, I think we've got Magnus Ditlev going up against Martin van Riel. That's going to be interesting. Martin's not his first Ironman. He did Cozumel last year, but that's a good battle for sure. Ditlev versus Van Riel, I think, going to see some fireworks, some different style of racing. It'd be interesting to see if Martin can go with Ditlev on the bike. I'm sure Magnus will probably come down. I mean, you've got a couple short course guys racing as well, which is Jamie Riddle and Jonas Schomburg. So they're obviously going to take the swim on and try to get a bit of that camera time on the bike.
Yeah. Jamie Riddle, he actually makes some quite cool Instagram videos.
He does. He's an
aesthetic lad, isn't he?
I've actually raced Jamie since I was 16 years old, man. You know, I've known him for like 10 years, and you know, he made a decision last year to be like, I'm going to go all in on my social media. And dude, he grew his following from like something like 9K to 75K in 12 months.
I know.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. It's also about how the new algorithm works. You know, if you just pop out reels with, I mean, it still needs to be good content. You know, his storytelling is really good. So, the whole algorithm is now more focused on reels. So if you like scrolling, then you get to see a lot of like. So he's
hitting that algorithm, baby.
He's hitting that algorithm. He's touching it and tickling right where he needs to. But anyway, even further down the list, you know, you've got Dennis Chevreau, who's a good athlete. Mike Phillips is coming down from the win of Ironman New Zealand. So I'm really excited to see how this race is going to plan out. And I'm going to broadcast it. So I'm also curious to see how Ironman managed to level up their broadcasting game, because in Geelong, it was gone at some point. Did you watch that?
I mean, it was in the middle of the night for me, so I didn't really watch it. I mean, I watched the next day and saw a bunch of stuff, like there was missing broadcasts and stuff like that. I just don't understand like how hard it is to broadcast races. Like, I mean, I get there's logistical challenges and whatever, but when you've got that much, you know, Ironman's a big company. You know, you'd think like, okay, we're actually going to get the broadcast right. Like, we're going to make it happen. I mean, obviously they're doing a great job with the Pro Series injecting more cash, but I think a cornerstone of having a good series is people know that they can log in, watch it, get some live stats, see who's in the group, you know, like Tour de France style. You know, you're not going to tune into the Tour de France if every 5 minutes it's cutting out and you don't know who's in the breakaway. You don't know how far the main group is back. You're just going to be like, screw this.
First of all, that extra cash injection is probably coming from the extra 30% rise in Ironman Pro fee. So everyone who's always wondering, so they're thinking like, oh, if you're pro, how do you make your money? Well, you get your money from influencing / getting personal sponsors, but there is not a federation or Ironman paying for you. Second of all, and we need to pay Ironman to compete as a professional. So that license this year is costing, how much is it? 1,400 euros?
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah. Or singular entry is like 250. So if you're going to race more than 4 or 5 Ironmans, it's worth getting the full license.
Yeah. And of course, some of you would say, yeah, but we're paying 900 euros for one Ironman, so you're all spoiled. That is true, but still, you need to see it. Maybe not for me, but for a lot of like professionals, it's their job. And if like your boss would say, hey mate, well, new month, you need to pay 1,000 euros this month to come to work, and if you're lucky, you can earn some money, then it's actually pretty nuts. But anyway,
one thing about the money, I just find it hilarious. I saw this on another podcast, how the short course money, I think, has to be the worst cost benefit analysis, whatever you want to call it, in the world. You know, like you look like World Series, which is the highest level of racing. I think to win a World Series, which for anyone to win one, you know, like that's like a lifetime achievement. You can write that on a resume. I won a World Series, even to podium, you know, like the level is so high. Man, the money hasn't, think about this, the money hasn't actually grown since 2009 or something in terms of the actual growth of the pot. Now they'll say, oh, you make more if you're 25th, whatever. Like it's the same pot. So it's the same as it was back in 2009, 2010, 16 years ago. So if you take into account inflation, the amount of money you make less compared to back then is nuts. Like, let's say it's 20K for the win, which I think it's like 1850, but let's just say 20K because I did it a couple of years ago on like an inflation calculator. I think the equivalent of winning a World Series now is about $13,000. And the equivalent of if you won that 20K back in 2010, it would now be $27,000. So you're under earning something like 14K per win, you know, and then obviously that goes progressively down the field. But the issue of prize money is crazy. I mean, that's why you see so many more people kind of diversifying, going to long, going T100, doing, whatever it is to kind of market themselves, podcasts, influencing, because if you just rely on prize money, it's impossible,
Why do you not go to, of course you're doing the T100 now, but you're still focusing on that short course?
Because I'm a sucker for punishment, mate. I love being abused.
No, but is that the fire for the Olympics?
Yeah, I think that's one of the only things that holds people in. And obviously the Olympics is, it's what you grow up watching. For me anyway, like it was always what I wanted to do. But also
it's only one time in 4 years, and yeah, it's pretty cool that week. But then, I mean,
don't shit on my dream, man.
Yeah, no. That is pure passion.
Yeah, it's that, but it's also like the feeling of being in the group in a World Series, the speed and like the intensity, and like I think that is also, you get addicted, and it, I'm not gonna sit here and complain and say, oh, whatever, it's so bad. I think what I've said about the prize money is just stating a fact, Yeah. But you get to travel, you get to meet new people.
Of course, in the end, it's all a choice. I'm also not complaining about the money, because I've never won any prize money. I'm earning money with working. I've just basically always got a job, and it's a privilege. I'm always saying, it's a privilege to be fit, and it's a choice to do this. In the end, it's a choice, and yes, it's a super privilege if you're able to do it full time, because there are also professionals who, for example, working part time. I work for myself, so I can kind of make up the times. It makes it extra hard, As an example, a lot of people don't know it, but for example, Menno Koolhaas, we've worked with him through Gonna Fuel. He worked in his dad's bakery 3 days a week, up until 2 years ago, to make his dream work. And then it really shows how bad do you want it. He came in 5th at World Championships last year, but you need to work 3 days a week, and then you need to get up at 6 a.m. for a swim. It's the same grind as people who listen to this podcast and also have a job. It's because if you do it full time, that's a real but you live in it's a pure fantasy world, as in it's so cool.
Yeah. And I think I also respect Amino, for sure, working and doing it at the elite level is extremely difficult. I mean, even working and doing it at the age group level, sometimes I think to myself, when I'm absolutely smashed on the couch, I think, man, if you had kids, if you had a job, if you had other commitments, obviously like mortgage, car repayments, whatever it is, going out and smashing a 2-hour turbo session I have infinite respect for age groupers,
Yeah,
but I do think, yeah,
I have so many, especially because, for example, Pepe, Ruben, and a couple of other lads in Amsterdam, they're all going to do Ironman Hamburg. So and I coach them, and we speak to each other like every week. And the hardest thing they find is the combination of the work-life balance, because you're doing something new, the sport. You're training 13, 14 hours a week. And you have, for example, a girlfriend and friends that you also want to see. That combination is just so toxic. You need to make choices, and it's just really hard to find that balance. Also, the balance of when is it okay to miss a training session and spend time with your family, or invest a little bit into that relationship, or it's hard. That is a real flipping juggle, and that's the juggle of life.
Yeah. But I do feel, as a professional, though, I think those years when you're kind of 17, 18, 19, 20, when you're kind of young guy, junior, under 23, I think it's great to go and grind those French Grand Prix, grind those Bundesligas, have a bit of a job, kind of get shat on, sleep at bus stations. That's what makes you that's when you get to the point where you get all the gear and the stuff's coming through the door, and you're racing around the world, where you sit back and you still have that appreciation. Because I know a few people that. Yeah.
Who's paying for all the trips when you're a junior? Is that still the federation?
No. As a junior, I fully self-funded everything. My parents helped me out a bit, but I remember I had a job. I started working at 14 at a cafe.
Yeah.
And I just saved up some money, and every year I just live off, I remember going to Europe with 4,000 euros in my bank account, and that's all I had, And I used to do stuff
smash as many Grand Prix with that as you could.
I was smashing the Grand Prix, mate. And you do stuff like the double reimbursement, stuff like that.
Double reimbursement.
You don't know the double reimbursement. So I used to do this thing, right? Okay, this is pretty funny. But I mean, it's French guys, so hopefully they don't listen to this because I'm sorry, but like I needed the money, okay? Don't hate me, hate the game. So I used to do this thing where I used to have a travel budget from a club to get to Europe, and it was like 2,000 euros return. And I was like, fucking hell, 2,000 euros. Like, and I used to do the maths, and like me and my mates used to do the maths, like, okay, 2,000 euros, and this was before COVID. So you could get like a one-way flight before COVID from Australia to Europe for like, man, $600, if you went through China. So what I used to do was I used to get like, Emirates, and I used to screenshot just before paying. And the total was like 1,958 euros. Invoice it, boom, get the money in my account, and then go on Skyscanner and find the cheapest, shittest flight I could get. But and then I'd stop through places like Fuzhou, Chongqing, like all these random Chinese places, dude. And I used to have to get like 72-hour visas, sleep on the freaking ground of the airport. But, it used to take me like 3 times as long to get to Europe. But at the end of it, I had like an extra 1,200 euros in my bank account, And that used to be like tick me over for 2 months. So that's kind of how I was living at the start. And, to be fair, like they were fun, because you were just a kid and you were just like, you'd make $500 and it was like, it was great. $500, I can pay my rent, whatever. But yeah, that's the little double reimbursement tactic. If any young juniors out there, get a French club, negotiate a budget and go through China, baby.
But yeah, I would say, if like from the excitement, I would say also short course is funny. It's more fun racing because it's more like a race when you're in a mix with everyone. Whereas Ironman or 70.3, it's so far stretched. Everyone. It's not really like in the peloton. There's not really a lot of tactics.
Yeah, and I think that's what keeps people into short courses. Just the fact that, like, for example, Hamburg. There's like. The streets are full, like you can't hear your feet on the ground, and you're standing on the pontoon and you got the heartbeat, and then you're out on the bike and it's 50k an hour, and it's just like the pure sprint racing, And I think that feeling, I mean, for me anyway, I think that's what keeps me in it, and it's just like I can't let go of it, because 70.3 is great, like I love it, and I'm sure T100 is amazing. It's not that same kind of heart pumping, adrenaline inducing thing when you're in the group and some guy crashes in front of you and it's like, and it's just carnage.
Hey, big dogs, as you probably know, I've launched Gonna Fuel 2 weeks ago, and first of all I want to say thank you for all the support, for everyone who's already ordered, and for everyone who is keen but needs that extra. I want you to try it. You can use code BIGDOG for 10% off. Big Dog for 10% off. And in the coming months, I will be sharing the journey of that Gonna Fuel, because not only do I want to change the sports market, as I find it way too expensive, the products out there, but as well unnatural, too much additives, and the market is not really sustainable. So use code Big Dog for 10% off, and I'll take you along on the entrepreneurial journey. There was a bullshit buster that Joe and I have shared a couple of weeks ago with the nose strip. Remember?
The nose strip, yeah, they're getting really popular. Those things
that is like opens your nose and that you're able to like get more air in or something. I was watching at the Tour de Catalunya yesterday, and I saw a lot of professionals using the nose strip as well.
Yeah, but they've been using those for years, man. They've been using those for years.
But that was only during like a TT or something.
Yeah. What, are they using it while they ride?
Yeah, they're not using it for the stage 1.
What, like in the race?
In the race, like literally everyone was rolling up at like the start with like the nose strips. And I was thinking like, what the hell? Did I miss a memo or something? So I wanted to like maybe anti-bust it. So I thought like maybe you can clear up the sky a little bit.
Well, I've actually had experience with the nose bridges. I think they're called nose bridges or whatever the hell they're called. They actually genuinely work, man. And when you put one on, and it genuinely feels like your nostrils are getting sucked out, and you can actually suck in a lot more oxygen. So I know that Wiggins and Sky used to use them in the warm up for the TT. Do you remember when they're on the warm up on the turbo? They had the nose strip, and they had the buds in their in their nose to kind of promote like opening the front of the face, or I don't know what exactly the scientific reason is behind it, but
yeah, that's it. There's like what's in there. It's not salbutamol, but it's.
I think there's salbutamol on the bus, mate. You just don't see it.
No, but there's something in those things that opens up the other airways in the whole face.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely would think that's an inverse bullshit buster for sure. I think they actually do work.
I was still thinking, same with like high rocks. So you open that nose, but especially during a high rocks, that is so flipping high intensity that you're not even using that nose. Like if you're properly spanking it, you're breathing through your mouth, aren't you?
Yeah, I think if you're nose breathing, you need to reconsider your intensity of effort.
Yeah, right. You can take it up a notch.
Pogacar's probably nose breathing on the Cipressa though, so that's why he's got that. You watch Milan San Remo.
He was on the start list for yesterday's Tour de Catalunya, and I was in front of his bus waiting for him to come out for a little selfie, but he weren't there.
He's not right. He didn't ride it.
No, he's not. He's not doing the Tour de Catalunya.
Mate, he's just recovering from the destruction that your countryman Mathieu van der Poel put on him on the Poggio.
That was good, wasn't it?
I think one of the best cycling races I've ever watched. 100%.
That was so cool, and then a sprint finish.
Oh. But like, the craziest thing is, I think they didn't have the right, like Isaac Del Toro on the Cipressa from UAE, because Tim Wellens did the original lead out when it started springing out, and then Narvaez moved up with Pogacar on his wheel. But I think the initial plan was that Del Toro would lead out Wellens, and then Wellens would do the lead out, and then Narvaez, like a sprint train up the Cipressa, Yeah. So they missed one guy. But for me, the most impressive, man, was Van der Poel survives all the attacks, and then over the top of the Poggio, puts one over him to say, "Bro, I'm still here and I've got the legs." That's like all time,
But I was thinking, if you start as a professional, people always say like, think of your education, think of your life after your pro career, and you've got some professionals. They've got like they don't even need a brain, They could be like completely
brain dead,
not smart, just brain dead. But they've got, so for example, I'm not saying they are, but they can be. But their image and their stage, what they have, their image as an athlete is so big that they can live off that the rest of their life. And people are like that. For example, Mathieu van der Poel, he could live off this, like his career, what he has now, the rest of his life, for sure. Apart from the money that he's making now, he will always stay relevant for the rest of his life. Same in the Netherlands, I can see it now with Tom Dumoulin, but also Peter Sagan, he's such a legend in the sport that even when he's 60, 70, 80, he will still stay relevant because he's such a legend. And I would say 99.999 out of a million do not have that, and they get irrelevant after 2 years, 3, 4 years, 5 years being out of the sport. But some of the athletes, they can literally live of it their whole life, of the image they've built.
Do you think Van der Poel wins Roubaix and Flanders this year?
Ooh, I do think he can win Roubaix because of his cross country skills. And Flanders will be could he did win Paris-Roubaix before, so
yeah, that would be iconic if he did all 3 big major classics in 1 year in a row, wouldn't it?
Oh, did
surely
someone ever do that before?
As the president of the Netherlands, no? Wouldn't he be the president or the king after that?
Yeah, he's already a very, very big hero. And the funny thing is, he actually lived his whole life in Belgium.
Yeah. Who's bigger, Verstappen or Van der Poel?
I would say Verstappen, definitely Verstappen, but I don't know, really. It also depends on the education what people have. If they're, I would say the majority who are less educated, they watch Formula One. It's a fact, it is. It's a fact.
Yeah.
But they're both pretty big heroes, in sports.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
There you have it. Dumbasses watch Formula One.
What are you saying?
There you have it. Dumbasses watch Formula One.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone, this week. And good luck with all the training sessions. And we'll be back with a new show next week. And for everyone's wondering, you can also watch it, by the way, on YouTube. So see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you, dogs.